to the phone box it belongs in. So ladies and gentlemen, I am really grateful and I'm really inspired, and that's why I bothered to come here to talk to you people, because if I can add something to the debate and let you know how much the world appreciates you and let you know a little bit more about what's at stake, I consider it work well done. So I'm here doing what I can. I'm going to come back next year and do a few more meetings and tour around the country. But, you know, get behind Gabby, do what you're doing, and just keep it up, because you're going to win. You know, and that's so I'd like to leave it there for now. I know David's going to come up, and I think Gabby, if you would come up too, and you know, some people in the audience may have some questions for us, which we're happy to answer. And yeah, a great big thank you to America and the Tea Party movement.
Ladies and gentlemen, our special surprise guest tonight, Gabriela Saucedo Mercer. Gabriela has drove up from Tucson after speaking down there. She hurried to get here because Trevor knows her from publicity, and Gabby knows who Trevor is, and so I told Gabby that she would get a warm welcome tonight to talk to you. So let's give 5 minutes to Gabby so she can talk about defeating Raul.
Wow, what a surprise. Thank you. Well, I was not prepared to speak. So I'm just going to do my regular thing. My name is Gabriela Saucedo Mercer, and I am running for Congress against Raul Grijalva. Don't ask me about the district, because they just cut me out of the district. Interesting. Yes, they, you know, they're redistricting because we gained one district in Arizona. Even though I am in the district that Grijalva represents today, they carved me out of the district because they know I'm running against him. When I filed my papers in January, somebody approached me and said, well, that is irresponsible for you to start running this early. And I said, why? I said, because of the redistricting. You don't know where the lines are going to end up. My answer was, if I'm outside of the district, I'm moving back in. So, right now, I'm in District 2, which happens to be Gifford's district. District 3 is supposed to be now District 7, which is where Grijalva is, quote-unquote, representing the people. You know, in Mexico, I was born and raised in Mexico. I immigrated to this country in 1986, legally. First thing I had to do was learn the language, and I have an accent just like... And I'm sorry, I can't get rid of my accent. This is the best I can do. On July 3rd, 1991, I was proudly sworn in as a new naturalized American citizen. I do not hyphenate my name, and I do not hyphenate my nationality. I am an American. Even if you want to call me naturalized American, I am an American. I hate political correctness. The government wants to put labels on us. Hispanic Americans, Mexican Americans, African Americans. That's one of the reasons that I love Herman Cain, because he says, I am black. And I've never been to Africa. The government has an agenda. And they want to separate us into little groups. What is it? Somebody said divide and conquer? That's exactly what they're trying to do. Tonight was an eye-opener for me, even though I've been learning about communism and also the Muslim threat in this country. Nothing that I heard tonight was new to me. It was just a reinforcement of the things that I know. In Mexico, the Communist Party, or the communists, have been trying to infiltrate Mexico. It's just in Mexico, I don't want to offend anybody if you're Mexican, but there's no patriotism in Mexico. When I came to this country and I saw, the NRA and the flag and people just being proud to be Americans. When I became a citizen for the whole month of July, remember I became a citizen on July 3rd. For the rest of the month, I wore red, white, and blue, something red, white, and blue. And it makes me angry that Raul Grijalva was born in this country. Yes, of immigrant parents, but he does not love this country. As a matter of fact, I got this little paper here that says, Raul Grijalva, from Chicano radical to congressman. And I want to read a little excerpt from this. And what Trevor told us, it just reinforces what this man is all about. In an interview at his Capitol Hill office, Grijalva described a key moment in the transformation, keyword. It came at the age of 13 or 14 when he won an award for academic achievement. But because he was embarrassed about his mother, who grew up in the copper mining, didn't he say the communists started in the mining industry? In the mining town of Ajo and spoke no English, he decided not to tell her about the award ceremony. When she learned about it later, he claimed to have forgotten to tell her. He then felt ashamed of himself. He should. And I'm quoting, "That got to my head pretty good. I think it kept building and building," Grijalva said. The first reaction was anger. The first reaction was to get even with whoever is doing this, and at that time it was racial. But they stand and they call us racist. Who is the racist here? But people, it is an agenda, and they have an agenda. And we need to stop it. One of the things that, the Tea Party, like you said, they were not expecting it. I thank God for Obama, because he woke us up. I know it woke me up. And it is a shame that my daughter, United States Marine Corps Staff Sergeant, is serving under the direction of Barack Hussein Obama. It just breaks my heart. And I know there's probably a lot of veterans in the audience, and I thank you for your service. But I also know that you are supposed to respect the office and you are supposed to respect the commander-in-chief. And I have no idea what my daughter would do if Barack Hussein Obama declares himself dictator. And it scares me to death. So think about it, people. We need to do something. And we need to stop it because it is our future, our children's future, and our grandchildren's future. I have a 2-year-old grandson, and his future does not look very good. This fight is not over. So, thank you very much for your time.
Gabriela, if you want to sit here. Okay. Thank you. We're going to take just a moment here. I've got quite a few questions that have been turned in, and that's fabulous, and that's wonderful. What's that? Well, darling, we're going to try to run on time, and I got questions for everybody.
It's important. It's very short.
Real quick.
You know, recently I received an email that talked about the communist plan to take over the United States back in 1945. Number one was to get mothers out of the home. I worked for Phyllis Schlafly, and I fought against the Equal Rights Amendment all over Texas. And we did defeat it, or she did, with a lot of help from people like me. The second thing they wanted to accomplish is to take over the schools by the government. So just look what they're doing. Wake up, people. The communists are coming. We've got to stop them.
Elizabeth worked in the Reagan administration, and nobody says no to Elizabeth. Okay. One of the things that I was reminded of tonight, I want to, since Trevor Barry Goldwater was mentioned here tonight, I want to introduce Don Goldwater, sitting right down here. He started the Patriotic And amongst all the other issues that are going on, oh, and our candidate for district, is it, no, District 1, Phoenix City Council, candidate Eric Frederick. And we have, do we have any other state legislators here? I saw some earlier. Linda Gray was here, but she had to leave. Is Rick Gray from our Arizona State Legislature. We've got a room full of celebrities. Okay, we have a lot of questions here tonight. Trevor, the big name that the 800-pound gorilla in the room whose name didn't come up tonight was George Soros. So a lot of people were asking about George Soros. So just a few words on that.
Yeah, he's not a very good man. Look,
Big drink.
Right.
Lots of water. What's your vodka?
just saying his name is hard. Yeah, he's a very bad guy. He funds every left-wing cause you can think of. The question for me is whether he's a top dog. The thing that I think about is that he got out of Soviet-occupied Hungary after the war after he'd been collaborating basically with the Nazis. Now, you don't do that unless the Soviets have something on you. He was then achieved a position of power and has done a lot of work for the Russians and the Chinese and that sort of thing. So, yeah, he's very bad. He is everything Glenn Beck says he is and much, much more. I don't think he's the top of the heap. I don't think if we got rid of George Soros, the problem would end.
Right.
I think he's the money man. I think there are other organisations like the Institute for Policy Studies out of Washington, which is the ideas factory of the Obama administration, the Centre for American Progress, which is funded by Soros, which implements those ideas in the Obama administration. And I think Soros is the money man and a very, very important cog and should be under federal investigation tomorrow. And a lot more than that. I think, yeah, he's a very dangerous man. I just don't think he's the top of the heap that some people think he might be. I think he's a very important cog in a very big machine. And I think if you really traced it back, I would, put it this way, I would love to see if there's a KGB file marked George Soros in Moscow. I would love to see that. Who knows?
Elizabeth, sweetie, I got to move on with another question.
How George Soros made his billions?
Well, I think a lot of people know the story. His financial manipulations. Sorry, and it's corrupt. He's been indicted and prosecuted in France. There's nothing I can particularly say that's good about George Soros.
Okay, let us move on now because we have several questions that are of the same ilk for Dr. Noebel here, and that is reaching out to the young people. There are a lot of people concerned about how corrupt the schools have become, but how do we reach that younger generation? How do we actually draw them in and allow a dialogue to start so that we can begin to re-educate? Of course, most people here would be in favor of ending the Federal Department of Education tomorrow. So, do you have any pearls of wisdom for us on how we reach these young people since you've been doing it for 50 years?
How much time do you have? It's 8:30. And they said we're out here at 8:30, so I'm not sure what to do with this question, but I have been involved in this area for 50 years. And I think our program is very successful. It's called Summit Ministries, Manitou Springs, Colorado. We run youth programs all summer long. We have curriculum from first grade through high school, and now we're working on even more than that. We are in 750 Christian high schools right now with just our Understanding the Times curriculum. We are in first and second and third, fourth and fifth grade with some of our elementary school curriculum. So we're starting at the beginning, okay? So I think this is it. I mean, you have to start with the young people. It's all possible. It's not impossible. But you've got a particular role to play in this whole thing too, and I think most of you know why and what you have to do to make it work. But our young people are there. They need your direction as well. We can't leave them behind. I mean, a lot of people, they get 65 and they say, I'm going to retire and that's it. I'm not going to worry about anything behind me. Well, that's a mistake. We need to keep those young people in mind. We need to pray for them too, by the way. And if you're a parent, grandparent, and you have these young people, be responsible for them. You'd be surprised if you think the Tea Party is important because it's small groups here, there, and everywhere. Well, you can do the same thing with kids. Same thing with the kids. But now, remember, you've got to prepare them and send them off to college and university or you're going to lose them there. That's a key thing too. You just can't quit there when you cash them in at one of our famous institutions of higher learning. You got to keep on talking to them. Okay, you got to keep on talking to them.
Very good. All right, real quick, because we want to get to as many questions as we can. Several questions came in about the birth certificate, Trevor, about the Barack Obama birth certificate.
I have to say I've purposely avoided this question. Not because I'm afraid of it, because it strikes at an issue of constitutionality that is really American. And I have some grave doubts about Obama's constitutionality. I would be very surprised if this currently circulating birth certificate is genuine, but I don't know where Barack Obama was born. There's certainly questions about the citizenship of his father and all that sort of thing, but look, I've got to say, put it this way, another reason I've avoided it is because I think it's a little bit like George Soros. If people think they can solve this problem by getting rid of Barack Obama on constitutional grounds, I don't think it's going to do it, because Barack Obama didn't make a movement made Barack Obama. And if he's removed that way, you're still going to have the Democrats, you're still going to have Hillary, and you're going to have a lot of people thinking he was hard done by and motivated. So I think really he's got to be elected out, he's got to be taken, look, he's got all sorts of frauds all around him, I've got no doubt about that. But I think ultimately you've got to elect him out, that's the way to go, and elect out all the Democratic mates as well. Is it gone, is it? Oh. So, yeah, I think there are certainly legitimate constitutional issues there, but I haven't, it's an area outside my expertise, and I think election is really the way to go on it. That's my answer. It may not please everybody, but that's what I think.
Very good. All right, a question for Gabby. With regard to La Raza, Mecha, Aztlan, can you just briefly give us the Marxist connection, because you grew up in Mexico, you know the history of Mexico, and just give us a brief touch on how the La Raza movement grew out of Marxism.
La Raza. La Raza means the race, and is the brown race. Like Trevor said, Grijalva started with La Mecha, which is a student movement, kind of like what Barack Hussein Obama was part of. And that's where the Chicano word comes from. This movement is based on socialism. You know, the poor brown people that are being oppressed by the white man. And that's what they're teaching our children right now in Tucson Unified School District. That's what Tom Horn has been fighting for a couple of years, and now it's in John Hupenthal's hands. If we don't pay attention to any of those things, oh, you know, it's down the road in Tucson, it doesn't affect us. Wake up, people. This lady that went after the TUSD, she's a Democrat, a liberal Democrat, and she went after once she saw the curriculum, and so she's been, you know, ostracized and blackballed and whatever you want to call it. This lady exposed the truth, and one of the things that in the beginning, she was actually supporting this program. So now she's fighting to get it out in the open. Well, the word got to Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck invited her. She was invited for 8 minutes. He kept her in for 30 minutes, live. Once she came back to Tucson, she started getting phone calls from all over the United States of America. The same thing is happening in our school district. What do we do? So it's not just in Tucson. Very, you know, under the water or under the table, it is happening. They are indoctrinating our children with this imaginary land that does not exist, not even in my Mexican history books, because I went to school in Mexico. They talk about the land of Aztlan, that the white man stole from them. Well, let me give you a little piece of history. That land that they claim that we stole, because I'm part of you now, It was the Gadsden Purchase. President Santa Anna sold the land. Now let me ask you, remember the Mexican-American War? Okay, you all know your history. Tell me, which country in the world that has gone into war, that has defeated another country, has paid for the land that they conquered? We did. So, rest my case.
Okay, thank you, Gabby. All right. And just to follow up on that, Arizona Mainstream Project did a panel discussion on this La Raza thing with Tom Horn, with Gabriela, and the woman you referred to is Loretta Honeycutt. Western Free Press did 4 interviews, Tom Horn, Gabby, Loretta Honeycutt. It's on westernfreepress.com. If you haven't seen that interview, or those 4 interviews, please look it up on Western Free Press. Loretta Honeycutt was fabulous in being a liberal Democrat, and it was actually a Marxist friend of hers who said, you need to look at this, and alerted her to it, and now she is, we're slowly bringing her over to our side. She's not quite there yet, but she's coming over to our side and working against La Raza.
She did tell me, I had dinner with her on Sunday, and she said, we were teasing her about converting. And she said, Gary, when the Republicans nominate Herman Cain, I'm changing parties.
So you see, there's hope, folks. Look, there have been a lot of, this is a good question, I think. How many of you are ex-Democrats that have come over? Look at this. You see, that gives me hope. That gives me hope. You know, Ronald Reagan said, well, I did not leave the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party left me. And that's what we're seeing. Okay, now, this is something that Trevor and I have spoken of, and Dr. Noebel, we talked about it extensively, and that is you have, on the one hand, you have Marxism and communism that is a very direct and real threat to the United States. Then you have La Raza and Mecha and Aztlan. And then the third part of it is the Muslim Brotherhood, Islamic Jihad. And a lot of us are seeing this over here, and this over here, and this over here. And so I would like both Dr. Noebel and Trevor to address the intertwining of the Islamic Jihad with the worldwide Marxist movement. And then we're going to adjourn.
Yeah, excuse me. You know, the Islamic world has been at war with Christianity for 1,000 years. We know that, probably longer. In the last period of time, we also know that the left has infiltrated a lot of Christian churches over the last 100 years. A lot of the mainstream churches are what they used to call the Communist Party of prayer. And so you've also got to realise that they've also done the same to a lot of the radical Islamic movements. The communists and the Russians worked through the Islamic seminaries for the last 80 or 90 years. They've funded and financed a lot of radical groups like Al-Qaeda. The Taliban in Afghanistan is almost as Maoist as it is Marxist. So I see them as part of a big, like an octopus. Like, it's not Islamism over here and socialism over here and the racial activists over here. They're all branches of an octopus. They're all legs of an octopus. And although a lot of the Islamic radicals would have no idea, large segments of their movement are funded and supported by the left. The Chinese, the Russians, etc. You know, the Russians work with the Iranians, the Chinese work with the Iranians. They all work together. But, you know, we're fighting a big thing, and that is why organisations like the ACLU and the left-wing organisations in the States will bend over backwards to defend anything Islamic, but will stop you putting Christmas trees up in your public buildings. you know, because the left and the Islam and the radical Islamics see you as a common enemy. So they will work together any opportunity they get to destroy your country and your lives. Now maybe in the future when they've won the battle, then they might start fighting amongst themselves, but we're gone by then, and I don't want that to happen. So yeah, look, radical Islam is a huge threat. It's absolutely a huge threat, but it would not be such a threat if the left was disarmed, if the left didn't enable them all the time and work to help them, and if traitors within your own country didn't do everything they could to enable them. So yeah, it's a huge threat, but don't forget the left and the work they do to enable the Islamics. Don't take your picture off that side of it either. Don't take your eyes off that side of the picture.
Very good. Just quickly, one book called The Grand Jihad by Andrew McCarthy will pull this whole thing together for you. We don't go much further than that. It's really well done. And then David Horowitz has a book on that very same subject. Remember the name of that book? The Shadow Party, was that? No, not The Shadow Party. Anyone remember Horowitz's book on that very, very issue? The relationship between the radical Islamics and the radical left.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, there were a lot of wonderful questions here. There was things on the Bilderbergers and FEMA and the Federal Reserve and many things. We could stay here all night. But what we want to do is we're a little bit over. We want to thank you for your indulgence. I'm going to send Dr. Noebel and Trevor Loudon, oh, sorry, sir. Yeah, oh, yes, out front because they're going to be at the table. And Trevor's new book, we tried very hard to get copies here tonight. It's at the printers. So we have forms out on the table for you to fill out and prepay. Now here's what's going to happen. Print. If you scribble, I cannot read your handwriting, okay? I am not a physician. I do not have any... oh, wait, gentlemen, don't leave yet. We're going to pre-order the books, and then those books will be shipped to me, and I will get them to you, okay? I give you my word that we will get that book to you. And so Dr. Noebel has copies you can trust. And Trevor will autograph them. There's a line on the form if you want it autographed to whom. And prepay, cash, or check made payable to Trevor Loudon. And he'll be out at the table. And if you didn't get your question answered, then this is your opportunity to do that. Ladies and gentlemen, I am enormously a blessed person. This would not have happened here tonight without the hand of God in it. All I could do was just be the intermediary to bring these two men together from halfway around the world, but it was the hand of providence that made it happen. I am grateful, I am blessed, and I am blessed by your friendship, and let's go take back America. Please thank Dr. Gabriela Saucedo, Trevor Loudon, and Gabriela Saucedo Mercer, and Pastor Joel. Thank you so much. Thank you. And we have campaign literature for you to pick up on your way out. Thank you. God bless and God save our republic.